Welcome to Cornerstone Conversations, where we discuss timely topics impacting communities, cultures, and economies. The first topic we're going to dive into in this series is family business. Currently, there are 32 million family businesses in the U.S., generating over half of our GDP as a country. They also employ 83 million people. What's interesting is only 30% of family businesses make it to the second generation, and only 12% make it to the third. You've probably heard of the great wealth transfer that is taking place across the globe in the next 5 to 7 years. 40% of all the small businesses in the U.S. are owned by a baby boomer who is reaching retirement age pretty soon. As coaches, we're really interested in what those impacts do to communities and cultures at large. We've had the privilege of walking alongside a lot of family business leaders over the past few years, and we believe this major intersection is something that can really impact communities well. We're going to talk to 6 dads and sons that are working together and are trying to navigate what it means as a son to carry forward what their dad started, and as dads trying to let go of something that they've held on to for so long. Thank you guys for doing this. Doug and Tristan Batie are sitting here with us today. This will be a fun one. Like I was just saying, you guys are in a unique spot and you have some unique edges to what you're doing in your story, just given your life stage and what you're doing and your career, Doug. Throughout this series, there's kind of been 2 categories of family businesses that we've talked to. One would be legacy businesses, legacy companies. So these are 3rd, 4th generation businesses that have been passed down, for decades. And the second category is this kind of newer one that we're just calling joint family ventures. So this is when a dad and son decided to team up and start something new together. Not on your own and not on your own, but you both come together with your unique skill sets, stage of life, interests, and you start a new entity and you pursue something, whether that's full-time on the side. You guys is kind of a hybrid model. And I think that is something that's going to start to show up more. There's more, I think, dads that are reaching retirement age-ish, and they're like, why? This was a conversation we had with one of the other dad-son duos, but his story was basically like, why would I go invest in another apartment complex? Or he's big in real estate. So he's like, why would I go do that when they bought a small business together. He's like, why would I do that when I could go start something with my son? And so that concept was kind of the spark for this podcast series. And you and Steve's relationship obviously came to mind, and then we got to meet a few months ago. And so I wanted to have you guys on here and just kind of hear the story. So before we get into your background, just tell us what Carve AutoLab is. Maybe just explain what's your elevator pitch? How do you describe it to a stranger?
For sure.
And then we can get into kind of your story and your background.
Yeah. So Carve AutoLab, the way we're describing it, it's an automotive market intelligence company. So essentially we're implying investment logic into the car market and simplifying ownership from an emotional decision to a strategic one. So a lot of people, when buying cars, they're just buying a car, when in reality they're entering into a market that they don't understand whatsoever. So that's the quick pitch, just kind of what it is.
Have you both been into cars forever?
Yeah, it's funny, Kyle. Like, a lot of we both just got back from vacation, but I remember early on road trips. Both the kids were big into sports, so we were traveling all over the place. And early on, the game that the family would play is lovingly known as the car game. So we would go on a road trip, and instead of counting license plates or trying to find, different letters on road signs or whatever to keep the kids busy, he was like, no, let's play the car game. And the car game went like this. It was, if we're going on a long trip, you get 5 cars, and first one to see it gets to claim it. And that's going to be in your garage. And then occasionally you could have trades. And of course, he just made it more and more complicated as we grew. But he's been into cars for a long time, and it's been a passion of mine for a while, but it's been fun to kind of share this passion together and see what it looks like to turn it into a business. So a long time. Okay. I mean, from little, I remember him in the back seat, probably looking the wrong direction and still saying car.
So that was way back, still been in the story for a long time. Sure. Maybe give us your background, Doug. Start with you, kind of quick career
Yeah.
Fly by what you've been doing, where you are now.
Right out of college, just born and raised in the Walmart bubble, if you will, in Bentonville. And so had the opportunity to go work in-house at Walmart for a few years, then spend some time in Germany for them, some time in Puerto Rico, jumped to the other side of the supplier side, spent 17 years working for Welch's for 1,800 family farmers, had a blast doing that. And then really just got this entrepreneurial bug. And so I tried a little basketball analytics business while I was still working with Welch's. Steve was a big help in that. And then jumped out for real and started of all things, a water bottle company. Like if you're going to pick one of the hardest categories to jump into is bottled water. But we kind of did that intentionally and just had a blast doing that and learned a ton, and eventually exited that company, sold it to a company called Langer's Juice that bought it in a little under 18 months. The idea was really just take that through the cycle of concept, launch, prove, scale, instead of scaling in the very expensive bottled water category, to go get that exited. So sell instead of scale. And that was a blast. And then so now where you find me is running a family office that I get to work with Steve on, and managing a very healthy perimeter of the store business that we service Walmart and others on protein categories, largely in eggs and beef. And then since it's a family office, we also get to do a lot of other fun things that are either adjacent or wildly unadjacent. So it's a lot of fun. How about that for a wrap?
That's close. That was absolutely nailed it with the ambiguity.
Yeah, that's good. What are some of the wildly unadjacent activities?
Golf.
True.
Golf. Travel space.
There you go.
Gen Z travel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good.
It's a lot of fun stuff.
And Tristan, you're still in school, about to wrap up.
Yes, about to wrap up.
Give us your story.
I'm currently at John Brown University. I'll be a senior. It's my final semester.
Let's go.
Thank goodness. I'm so ready to be done. But kind of had to get to Carve a come to Jesus moment. And I am going to graduate with a biology degree and a minor in chemistry from JBU, which has nothing to do with cars.
Yeah,
for sure.
The opposite, almost.
Yeah, so not even close. I had wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatrician. Always great with kids, love kids, and I like to know how things work. Cars is one of them, but the human body was another. And so going into JBU, wanting to do that kind of stuff. And so last summer, heading into my senior year, I was studying and prepping for the MCAT, getting ready to take it, and kind of just a lot of uneasiness and a lot of questions on, is this really how I want to spend the next 8 to 10 years of my life? Is more studying and more doing a bunch of this. And if you know me, I don't sit still very well. And I am not a big reader of textbooks. And so more studying was not something I wanted to really do. Yeah. And so just having a heart to heart with God, and realizing that maybe that wasn't the plan that I thought that he had for me. And so then deciding, beginning of August? Yeah. Beginning of August to not take the MCAT and not go to medical school anymore. And so after that, it was a big, now what? And so
this is past August.
Yes, past August. So very recent. And also I'm an athlete, so I played basketball at JBU as well. And so combining the school and the basketball, knowing how to, all of the time management and all that kind of stuff. And then thinking of what am I going to do next? And him throwing me in with a bunch of different CEOs of startups, and him being in the startup world with Gen Z and with actionable analytics, just kind of seeing that. It's like, maybe that's something I want to go do. And so got in some conversations with some very knowledgeable people, and consensus was, well, if you're going to jump into this, you've got somebody world-class sitting right next to you that lives in the same house you do. Yeah. Why not take advantage of that? Take advantage of his network and his knowledge and his experience, and jump in head first. I mean, the best way to learn is just to do it. And so that's kind of where it came from, and just the background to that. Yeah. And so that really led to another big decision of not medical school, but deciding not to play basketball for my final year as well. And so being able to open up a ton of space in my time and my calendar with eliminating two very large things, brought in the ability to start Carve and to bring it to life. So
cool. Have you started or owned little small businesses before? Is this your first
one?
Nice.
Yeah.
And have you all done anything together in the workspace, like interned with with Doug or anything in the past, or worked together in
not
any
on
capacity?
paper.
Okay.
No,
Cleaned out the warehouse
So, yeah,
with the
slave
pallets of
labor,
water
maybe.
bottles.
Yeah.
needed
the
to-
water.
Yeah.
He
horse
was,
stalls. I mean,
he was our he did clean a lot of horse stalls at the farm.
There you go.
But he was our voice
I forget
for
about that.
all of our Gen Z stuff that we were pitching to retailers. So he
Oh,
did all
cool.
that for us.
Yeah.
And man, we've had the opportunity to do a lot of fun stuff together.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good. So maybe unpack the business for a little bit.
Sure.
So are you founder and you are advisor? Like, how do you describe? Are you co-owners?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to make that
Go
up.
through all
Yeah.
that stuff. Is this?
that one's on you, man?
Yeah. Have you done any of this work? I'm sure it's all fleshed out at this point.
Yeah,
but
it is. I think the way probably to characterize my involvement is probably investor, advisor. But he's operating it, like he's running it, and I get to check in every now and then, see if he needs anything. But we're definitely figuring out what that season looks like, Kyle. For us, it's making that evolution of like from the parenting arc, the way I have it in my head too. And Steve, you can probably tell me who I stole this from, but like from coach to cheerleader to consultant, and the consultant role is only when asked.
Yeah.
And so now jumping into a business partnership, we're kind of going back.
Sure.
Like, okay, I'm coaching because it's my money as well. So now you don't get to ask all the time. I get to input, but like that's
Sure.
never really been a problem for us. Like we've navigated that through basketball, through cell group leadership, whatever it looks like.
For sure.
So
That was the model I gave Chip Jackson 22 years ago.
okay, that's who I stole it from. I stole it from Chip.
Yeah.
To you.
Yeah. Hey, so go back just a quick second to the origin story. I get it that you both have a background in cars. Love that. But the idea, the niche itself,
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes it comes from an epiphany where somebody says, man, I like personally, the thing I hate doing the most in the world is buying a car.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And
does
so,
everybody else.
okay. So like, it
This
could-
has been
could-
true for like 20 years.
No,
Yeah.
it's my whole, it is
Yeah.
literally anybody that knows me well knows
Yeah.
that
This
is
is
the one
antithesis
thing.
of
Yeah.
life.
It's it. And so, so did the idea come out of, was it more just a moving around in the space and the category, knowing that you wanted to find something? Or was it just, did you kind of fumble into after buying a couple of cars, you kind of like, look at this, man. I mean, like,
Yeah.
just stay on the origin story long enough
Yeah.
to know how
sure.
how Carve came to out of the abyss.
So it really started again, like you said, just us being car people, the obsession into a pattern recognition. And so really the epiphany moment came when the two of us are like, well, we want to start driving some cool cars. Like how can we get a hold of some of these cars? And so ended up, was that 2 years ago now, I had the ability to buy a pretty cool car, or he did, not me. I don't have enough money for that. But so he got the ability to buy a pretty cool car, definitely the nicest car that our family's ever gotten the chance to own. And it was at a really good deal. It had been sitting on the market for a really long time. And so we ended up buying that car, and we didn't think anything of it. We were just trying to figure out, where am I going next? What's happening? And me constantly looking at cars through auction websites.
Yeah,
I mean,
constantly.
I probably spend 6 to 8 hours a day just looking at cars.
At auction sites.
Auction sites,
Okay.
listings, just looking. And so that pattern recognition of understanding like the car that he had is like, well, some of these cars are starting to sell higher than what we bought it for in a lot worse spec or less or more miles or older year, and they're selling for more money than what we bought it for. How's that work? And so just kind of starting to dig into the data, I did a lot of scraping, not anything automated. And it was all manual, scrolling through thousands and thousands of listings of cars, just looking at all of these different numbers. And so really where that moment came was when, September of last year, there had been a few of his exact car sell on Cars and Bids. I don't know if you're familiar with that auction website.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey dude, I think it's about time we need to get rid of this thing. He's like, well, we just bought it. What do you mean?
11 months in.
Yeah, we're 11 months into this thing.
Not what you want to hear.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, this,
Like trust
we have
me,
an option here to almost break even. And so we kind of played around with that idea, and we decided to look into some offers. And so the first place we went was Carvana. If y'all are familiar with Carvana, they sell convenience. You know, you don't have to do much. You sit at home, they come pick it up, they bring it to you, all those things. So the car that when we had bought the car, he had paid $75,000 for it. And so Carvana offered $63,000. So 10 months, 11 months into ownership, and that's $12,000 difference. And so we're like, I don't really want to lose $12,000 in 10 months. That's a lot of money to lose that quickly. So like, okay, let's go look around closer places. So we go through dealerships and just pull up, have them give us a bid. Ended up it's like 63,000, 65, 67, 68, 68. And so the highest bid that we got was 68,000. Like, all right, well, all these other cars are selling on this auction site. Well, might as well give it a try, see what happens. You can set a reserve. If you don't want to sell it, you don't end up having to sell it at all. So it's a risk we can take. Ended up selling the car to a guy in Colorado for $74,000. So Dad paid $1,000 in 11 months to drive an MSRP car of $120,000 and put 11,000 miles on it. Paid $1,000. Wow. And so we're both just sitting in there when we saw the sell at 74,000. We look at each other and we're like, we just made out like bandits right here. Like, what did we do? Yeah. And so that's really where the model just opened up to the two of us, just showing like, hey, this is something nobody thinks about. Like they're just not looking at the numbers this way. And so I think just realizing that epiphany moment is kind of where the idea and the model started showing up.
This conversation is sponsored by HootOwl Estate Planning. They helped me set up my family's trust last year, and it was an incredible experience, to be honest. I love what they're doing because it lines up with a lot of what we talk about on this show. Estate planning isn't just about a legal task, it's a legacy decision. HootOwl gets that, and they built a firm around making the process feel less intimidating and more meaningful, to be honest. If that's something you or your family needs to get serious about, I highly recommend reaching out to Jacob or Luke. They're some of my good friends, and they'll take good care of you.
You know, one thing that I'm a big fan of is like a lot of people go try to find businesses based off of like total addressable market. And I'm a huge fan of like total addressable problem. And Steve, the point you just articulated, like the data screams that everybody hates the car buying experience. Nobody wants to spend 4 hours in a dealership. And that's why Carvana's got a business. But what's the data point, Tristan, for Carvana? What's you've studied a few of them that's shown like what kind of percentage are you walking away with?
Yeah. I mean, you're typically losing, a pretty decent percentage, but the dealers in Carvana, they have to make their own money. And so they're offering, it'll vary on different cars. So I don't think I could give you a specific number, but when you go in or sell to Carvana, if we would have sold it for $63,000, they would have turned around and listed that car anywhere from $74,000 to $75,000. And so they would have made that percentage difference of, 8%. And that's where they have to make their money. And so realizing that that niche is there and losing that amount of money. So
going from that to let's start a business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's stand up a business. Yeah. What happened? Just a lot of conversation.
Of conversation. More looking at cars.
Yeah.
Is this replicable?
I think he had me though, Steve, when he started talking about like the asymmetry of the data. Like if you look at how much data is out there for cars and for the marketplace, there is unbelievable amount of data, but it's all on dealer or manufacturer side and little to no for consumer side. So much so that he's having to scrape like a maniac, scrape all the data back to at least have a fighting chance. And that's when the advent of like Stamp occurred for him. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So finding all the asymmetry in the market brought us to our two models, Stamp and Drive. But Stamp is really the main one. So Stamp is the spec, trim, age, mileage, and price of a vehicle. So we've broken it down into 5 different sections.
Okay, one more time. Give me those.
Spec, trim, age, mileage, and price.
Okay.
So
that's a valuation model?
Yes. So spec of a car is the different, like if you go onto a Porsche website right now and you want to go click the different color or the different wheels or the different interior trim, that's the spec of a car.
Okay.
Trim is the trim level. So that's a 911 versus a 911 turbo. That's a trim level. And then age is obviously age gap. So year. Mileage is a very big one. And that's the one people typically look at the most. Like if you're looking to buy a car, you're like, oh, I want low miles. Right. And so that one gets a little interesting because low miles is good, but in some instances, higher miles is better. And I can get into that more, but then also price. And so the MSRP or sticker price of the car, what it was originally sold for versus what it's selling for now, that percent difference of the actual depreciation of that car. And so then tying all those together and having them weighted in different areas in our algorithm really brings it into a simplified one number out of 100. So 100 is the best stamp score, 0 is the worst stamp score, and just simplifies it for a consumer rather than you have to go do all the scraping that I have been doing. So if I've already done it, why not let you be able to use it?
So a consumer sees that number and that helps them have confidence in how good of a purchase this is, or
Exactly.
not, how good of a deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so Stamp has really opened us up into our 4 things that we're doing, and you guys are part of one of them with our email. So the free weekly email, kind of piloted with 100 individuals, just gives tips and tricks, kind of our recommendation on, what the target price for a vehicle will be, what it's selling at right now. That's the first one. And then the new one that's probably the most scalable, we're calling the Carve Ledger. So the Carve Ledger is a group of 20 of the best of that specific car in the nation. And so using our stamp value, looking at, typically we're 200 to 250 plus of a specific vehicle in a trim or spec that a client wants, and then narrowing it down to the top 20 of our stamp value. And so I think our top 20, I don't know what our lowest stamp has been, maybe 75.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the vehicle, but yeah, usually. Yeah.
And so
number 1 on the list, maybe in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then number 20 on the list, maybe in the 70s.
Yeah.
But,
so comes out the ledger, and then we have acquisition strategy, which includes a ledger, but then that's where I get to go do all the work for somebody. So that's, for somebody like you two who doesn't like buying cars, you don't want to spend that 4 hours at the dealership negotiating and looking at all those things. So get to come in and do that for some clients, which has been a lot of fun, learning to negotiate on cars, learning to like kind of how dealers are acting, but then also exit strategy. So that's on the back end. If you already have a car, one of the hardest part about people is selling cars. People do not like to sell cars. It takes forever. It's sitting forever.
Yeah.
And so that's where Carvana's convenience comes in. And so doing the exit strategy and finding what that car's currently could be worth, what it is on low end or high end of the market. And so that's been a lot of fun to get to just see the 4 of those things kind of show themselves just from our stamp model.
Yeah, I think that ledger for me is what kind of crystallized that maybe he's got something when he put together a ledger for a client / friend, one that was in the 100 test, and sent it over to him. It was around New Year's Eve. And so it was right at the, January, let's say, sent it to him. And the guy sat on it for like 3 days. And by the time the client opened it up and looked at it, he was kind of frustrated because he's like, man, 13 of these cars are already sold. Why'd you send this to me?
Yeah.
And I was like, Tristan, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. I was like, 13 of those things sold because they were not sold January 1st. They were sold January 4th, whenever he got to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was really interesting. And that's continuing to prove itself.
It's been happening on a
and I
pretty
think
consistent.
on average, someone is using that $750 ledger that is basically telling you the top 20 of that car. And people are using that either to go buy one of those 20, or better yet, go negotiate with the power of those 20, saying, hey, I know this car's in Northwest Arkansas, but I'm getting ready to go buy this one that's in Tennessee. I'll go drive for 4 hours or 8 hours to go buy this one and save $10,000. And it's amazing how those prices get adjusted. So largely saving $4,000 to $10,000 just by having more information on your buyer side.
Right.
So that part's been fun.
Yeah. So tell us who the customer is. Is it only, high end luxury vehicles, or is it your average Joe?
Yeah.
Also?
So really, you're really starting at about $75,000 and going up from there is really where you can really see the value of finding the 20 best and saving that money. Now there are a few underneath, but they're very, niche vehicles. But But really where you get to kind of I will say really lucky with ours and saving that, only spending that $1,000 at the $75,000 level. But when you get to, past $125,000 to $150,000, that's really where you can start almost making money back with vehicles, which is a lot of fun to see.
For sure.
I've got something new to talk to my wife about.
Right.
I can make money.
like
Honey, we can make money.
It is interesting, Steve. And I think that's some of the language that he's learning to articulate that you'll see on social media is like, price is what you pay, value is what you get. But like that whole idea of like sticker shock, because one of his core tenets is like you could actually buy 2 to 3 cars over a 5-year period and save substantially more money than if you just play the normal game and buy one and ride it out 5 years.
Wow.
And
that's totally opposite of what most people are going to think is the right behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and then they hear that. I mean, it sounds like a huge customer education. I'm like, half your business is customer education, and getting them to understand that, and then be like, "Oh, I believe that. Now what? How do I plug in?
Right?
How do you make that happen for me?"
Yeah. And the idea and the concept of like, "Hey, sweetheart, I need to go spend $120,000 rather than $70,000." Because in a year from now, that's going to be $118,000 rather than $50,000, and it's like that delta. And that is a foreign concept, for a lot of people.
So I guess follow up on the customer question is it also people that are used to flipping cars and making multiple car purchases, or is it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be ideally, I think in that sense, really, I mean, the time frame, I think the one that we've been playing around with the most is anywhere 12 to 18 months is about the short end of the stick of ownership. And so his was 11 months. That's really about where you want to get rid of it. 2 years might be an extent, especially if it is a more niche vehicle like the one that we had purchased. Whereas, Tahoe, Suburban, Escalade, whatever it may be, a lot of people, like you said, want to buy that and drive it for the 5 years to 60,000 miles, where, I mean, really you can go buy the same Tahoe 3 times in a year and only lose, $1,000 to $2,000 every time.
Yeah.
And so I think really you're trying to find the ones that, and it'll be a specific vehicle. It's not just through the market, but that where you can hold on to it for a normal amount of time that doesn't seem like you are a flipper, that you just enjoy cars. And so I think the 12 to 18 months is about
a little bit of it is vehicle driven.
Yes.
Yeah. It'll be really fun to see your social strategies, because I see the creative side of who I am, see so many places for you to actually, press into the market with felt needs, curiosity, imagination, education.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that people overlook is, throughout a lifetime, you lose more money on cars than you do on houses. So everybody's like, well, a house is such a bigger purchase. It's an investment. You think of it as an investment. Well, cars are investments as well. Nobody ever thinks about it. It's just to get you to point A to point B. But throughout a lifetime, people are losing more money through the depreciation of cars than they are the depreciation of houses.
Without doubt. Yeah.
Without doubt.
But even your overall ticket, you may end up spending more money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, more social opportunities for education. That's great, because that's not what people would think.
No.
If you put that on a test and said answer, most people would miss that.
Wrong.
That's great.
Yeah, you got to retrain. I mean, we just bought Esther a new car in December because she's pregnant. Her car was small and we needed a bigger space. We got a used Yukon.
Yeah.
And, our head is like, well, we'll just ride this forever.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not a bad strategy. It's not a bad strategy.
Yeah.
And, I think there are clear designations of how you use the vehicle. And it's something that we really didn't get much into, but drive. But like, if you relate to your vehicle of like, this is my daily driver that I'm going to put 20,000 miles a year on, then that bumps you to this type of vehicle. Do you happen to have in your family, Kyle, a third car that maybe that's fun and you guys go out on the weekend and you treat that car fundamentally different?
Yeah.
And then like, what's your commute? So
looking for a used Jeep Wrangler, 2-door white Sahara trim.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
Just send
There's
it
your
over.
fun-
With
there's your fun
tan
car.
interior.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ideally,
Yeah.
that's
Actually,
my
I'm
dream
pretty
for the
sure
third
there's one
vehicle.
I'm
Yeah.
bringing.
Send him a note. He'll crank
But those
you
are
out
cheap,
a
so
ledger.
it's like, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's
I'll
great.
shoot you a note. So go back to the formation one more time. Was this like, hey, here's a strong use case? Were you like, hey, I want to start a business. Dad, I need some money to invest in this, or you just started working on it and then conversations happened organically?
I mean, we kind of just started working on it. I was in that gap of, what do I do now? So I had nothing else to do, and these studies had lightened up, no more basketball. So just kind of playing around with some of the idea and figuring out the algorithm model of Stamp. And so we really just got to mess around with it. And it's funny that there was one defining day, and I don't think we figured it out.
August or September.
It was, I think it was after my first week of classes. So my very first week, syllabus week, we don't do anything during syllabus week. So it's the weekend and it's pouring rain. We're like, well, there's, it's August. There's nothing to do in the rain. So we'll just go to the office. We'll just mess around with kind of stuff. I think we spent, 8 or 9 hours in the office, just hammering out kind of all these details. And that's really where Carve was born.
That's fun.
And so
you talk about a fun
day.
8 or 9 hour Saturday with me, getting to hang out with him.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we had papers all over the place.
Create a business plan.
Whiteboards
Let's
covered.
just do it. Yeah. That was fun.
That was a lot of fun. So that's really where it came to light.
Okay, so business plan created in August-ish. Where are you in the life cycle of the company right now?
Yeah,
Are we
so,
pre-launch, out in the market?
Pre-launch at the moment, but it's exciting. We're probably going to be launched before this podcast comes out.
Sweet.
So that's exciting. Hesitation really for me is social media. I've grown up with social media, Gen Z. I mean, I've always been on the other side of the phone, but man, I do not like to be in front of that camera on social media. I do not want to post. I don't want to be.
You don't want to be the face.
Oh no, I don't want to be the face.
Man, he fought.
I fought
so
tooth
hard.
and nail to not do that.
Yeah.
But then, just seeing everybody, even if it's a niche business or whatever, as soon as they post on social media, that viewer count just skyrockets.
Yeah.
And that's just, this day and age is how you get traction.
Yeah.
And so just swallowing my pride a little bit on that and starting to do all the filming and stuff for social media has really been the biggest step. And so getting all that hammered together right now and got a lot of videos done and ready to go. Working on developing website and getting landing page and all that stuff so people can get into us that aren't just from Bentonville. And so we're getting really, really, really close to launch, which is exciting.
That's great.
Yeah.
One fun thing I think to highlight would be, I've had the fun privilege of being in so many partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the beautiful things about being an older person. I've had a ton and tons of partnerships over the years. When you partner with someone who's a peer, they're generally the same age, same season of life, whatever. I mean, you get certain upsides.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a one for all for one, all that kind of stuff. When you partner with your dad, who's got some muscles behind him, what happens is the dad can compress the learning,
Mm-hmm.
and you can literally shortcut so many things that you're not having to bootstrap, because if it's just with another peer, you don't know what you don't know.
For sure.
Well, your dad might know what you don't know. He might not too. I mean, it might be something he hasn't discovered either. But so the chances of moving through your launch and prove cycles
Mm-hmm.
can be so much faster
For
when
sure.
you do partner with, somebody that has some business experience like
Absolutely.
like your pop over there.
Especially, I mean, we had the same conversation. I remember before I got into coaching with you, tail end of Bearded Goat days, I was on a mountain bike ride with a buddy who's in the crypto space, and not relevant, but he's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know. I might do my own thing. Or if I get into some kind of I thought about e-com consulting just because we had so much experience there. And we had talked a few times about working together, and I was like, I think I might just go work with him. He's like, yeah, I mean, why would you go start your own thing when you have a huge on-ramp other than pride? It's like,
Exactly.
It's an easy decision.
Yeah.
But that same concept has shown up over and throughout all these conversations.
For sure.
I love
it's a cool
the chance,
advantage.
I love the chance that you get to move through the learning gates so much faster. I mean, because you have trust, you have respect with each other, et cetera. But because if you don't have that, then you have to try it.
For sure.
You have to spend some money, spend some calories, take some risk, and then you find out, oh, that didn't work. So let's try this one. let's try that one versus a compressed learning saying, hey, what about this idea?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it sounds like you're doing most of the day-to-day, the grunt work, getting things set up. When does Doug show up? How does he show up? What is that dynamic like?
I mean, I think obviously the learning that you were talking about, this dude's got experience out the woodworks. And so really, I think one of the biggest things and the biggest help that he is just the knowledge of how the business world works. I am a biology kid. I had no idea what the business world was about.
Yeah.
And so really that has been such a huge help in learning quickly. And I'm going to go back to the guys that he had set me up with call. One of the things that I had been considering after not doing med school was, well, maybe I should go to business school. And again, that consensus was, why not just jump in with him and use his knowledge? And so I think the help of him being able to have already been through that just makes me, I don't have to go through all that now. I get to use his knowledge and so I think that's been the biggest help, at least for me. So,
yeah. And I, doing the basketball analytics thing, Kyle, while I was still running Welch's, like he saw all that, like I would come tuck him in between doing reports for coaches or whatever. And so it's kind of bringing back that season a little bit of like, hey, check my work, he's authoring but I'm editing a little bit or, hey, I'm thinking about this is what the email is going to look like. And so it's actually entertaining. It gives us great opportunity to connect and spend some time together and doesn't really feel like much of a burden.
Yeah.
We do wish for some rainy weekends sometimes just because like it's tempting on a beautiful day like today. Like, man, I'd love to go do something else with him. But it's been fun so far. It's been really rewarding to be able to invest and see like the growth that you're talking about, Steve, just happening so fast for him. And I'm a huge believer in like 10,000 hours or like Naval talks about disciplined research and just seeing like one thing that I preached to him early on was like, you can become like one of the world's experts in understanding the value of cars if you just spend the time because nobody else really wants to, right? Like nobody wants, and that's a pain point that you can go solve. So it's been fun seeing him kind of lean into that and just continuing to encouraging that in that.
Yeah. And the industry certainly seems like most of their training, here's my cynicism is about to come out.
Yeah, here we go.
But most of their training has been in how to close the deal, how to sell, not how to be an expert to answer the questions that somebody might or might not have. And, so, I mean, it certainly looks like there's an opening or an opportunity gap in the business there.
Yeah. I think most of the things you see on social media these days, especially revolving around the car market, again, is like you said, that it's the negotiation. Like the cars are listed at this and you want to buy it at this. So how do I talk to this person in a way that's going to get it closer to my number? Whereas looking into the depths of the data and using that to, well, that guy's car is priced $10,000 higher than it should be. And there's 3 others over here that are already at my price. So why wouldn't I just go use those instead? And I think one of the biggest things from experience with dealing with a few clients and dealing with the first vehicle that we used with him was a lot of people don't want to compromise on what they want in the vehicle. And so really trying to find the car with that spec and the trim that the client wants, but still finding it at the best value that you can. And so for me, seeing all those numbers and all that data, I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just go buy this one? Like you're missing 2 of these things in the spec. Maybe it doesn't have heads up display or whatever, but you're saving $8,000 on this one. And so that's been a big learning curve for me. There is just knowing, hey, they're saving no matter what, and just get the client what the client wants and help them learn from it in that sense.
Sure. That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm curious, so in early, I mean, a lot of startups, and you know this, Doug, but risk can vary. There's certain levels of risk that shows up when you're starting a business.
Yeah, for sure.
How is risk showing up with this business and this industry? And how are you handling that as a father-son duo? Because
I'll take a stab at it.
Yeah, go.
I'll take a stab at it. Our friend Lamar has always coins this phrase of like low cost probes. And the idea is like, what can you do for like minimal cost? And so some of the early thoughts that Tristan had had high inventory, and hey, let's get a building. And I'm like, hey man, like, what are we talking about? And so the way we have structured the whole thing is more as SaaS than it is, you know, a brick and mortar. And so what I mean by that is like, there's literally nothing outside of his time and a little bit of data fees of, you know, scraping and some AI work and getting, you know, hiring best in class people to help us with that, some design stuff, etc. But all in all, it's there's not a whole lot of outflow of capital outside of, hey, he's got an apartment he's got to pay for, right? And I guess he's got to eat every now and then. And so that part's been really fun. But I think also like the insights of seeing that he's got 4 or 5 key insights when I had him kind of build. Okay, convince me, but probably more important, right? Convince mom that this really could be a business. Yeah. And some of those key insights that like not every depreciation curve looks the same. And like, okay, well, help me understand that. And seeing some of those things with little to no spend outside of his time just continued to validate like, man, he could go turn this into a business without it being huge overhead.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is your business model, it's got some really nice, interesting upsides because, you know, you don't have to have a car lot. Mm-hmm. You don't have to really ever own the car yourself. I'm not saying you wouldn't ever want to get into that space, but your business model doesn't require you to do that. Exactly. Your business model allows someone to own it over here and somebody else to own it over here. So there's just very limited, you know, capital required for that. You know, maybe the capitals will be completely around either technology or other people being able to carry the load of scale and expansion. Exactly. We can get to that later, but that's interesting. So the risk factor is pretty mitigated because of the business model.
Agreed.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. Agreed. It sounds like you were able to speak into that pretty quickly.
For sure.
And help steer some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hence one of the dad learnings that you can share.
For sure.
If you didn't have that, you might be out like, hey, good news. We bought a car lot. Like, why?
Now we got to fill it. Yeah. It's pretty hard to fill it with some of these cars that, you know, they're hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not just laying around on the couch, you know?
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, that example is something that we've seen is, and I don't know if it's shown up necessarily as much for you guys, but basically there's a lot of tensions that show up when you're working with family. One of the key ones we've seen for dads is how do I steer wisely with my experience, my knowledge, my career, but how do I also just let go and let him run and figure stuff out? Because he needs to learn that way too. Yeah. And then the son's side, your tensions are, I need a lot of ambition and I want to push and chase, but I also need some humility to accept that like maybe I don't know everything.
For sure.
Has there been any examples of you being like, hey, I want to push the envelope here, and Doug's been like, I don't know if that's wise. Yeah. And you have to just be like, okay, this is a humility moment, or vice versa, where you've had one where you've had to let go of something where maybe you didn't want to. Yeah. Is that showing up at all?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the whole social media thing, like I've had to put my hand in the small of his back and say, hey, there's no one else, right? If not you, then who is going to be the front man and who's going to show up? There needs to be a human showing up for Carve AutoLab, and that human is you. And so I think that one was one that he kind of kicked and screamed, but also understood like, you're right. Like, and that's a good example of dying to himself. I loved the fact that he didn't want to be a Lamborghini bro and be an influencer, right? And like, Dad, buy me a new car and I'll go
for sure.
I'll go, you know, and so like he's the antithesis of that, which is so aligned to the brand of what it's going to go be. So I thought that was actually really healthy tension. What other ideas?
I was going social media too. That's definitely the one that I was so did not want to be a Lamborghini bro. And just seeing it constantly on TikTok and Instagram, all these guys, I'm like, these guys are just annoying. Yeah. This is not what I want.
They don't know what they're talking about.
No, and half of their facts are wrong and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, why don't I go be the opposite of them? You know, and just dig into the actual data and just be very set in the facts.
Well, that would be off-brand. To your point,
would be way off-brand.
It would be off-brand. When your brand is not, you know, your customer is not looking for a Lamborghini bro to hype them into buying something. No, exactly. They just need a little help.
Exactly.
You know, getting to the finish line on an idea or a dream. Or
absolutely.
Whatever,
Yeah.
That's good. Another thing that we say often is working in a family business is uniquely challenging and uniquely rewarding.
Yeah.
Where has that shown up? Has that statement been true for you guys? Have there been super rewarding moments? I mean, you touched on them a little bit.
For sure.
What are some of those for each of you?
Yeah. I remember it wasn't even 3 months ago that he had a client that was interested in like a really nice SUV. And the only place they were available was like in Scottsdale or Vegas. And so I was already going on a trip out to Scottsdale and brought him along with me. And just seeing him like in his element and just walk in. I had already called ahead, not because I had told him to call ahead, but because he had the foresight. Hey, I'm getting ready to go touch some $500,000 cars, and maybe I ought to call ahead. I acknowledge I'm 22 years old and I'm going to be walking around these places. And everybody knew him, was waiting on him, expecting him. And he just walked in like he was meant to be there. And I'm over there opening the doors like this, and he's just like, it's just a car, man. Like, just jump in. And so that was fun, but it was also so aligned to just who he is. I remember, I'm going to go way back and then you guys can edit this all later, but I think it's really part of just how God uniquely wired Tristan. I remember we were on a college campus one time. We were at, it was an alumni event for my wife and I, and he's a little 2-year-old. And the campus is completely empty. And we're at this water fountain and it's a beautiful day. And I say, hey, buddy, you want to go sit down? He's like, yeah. Well, there's one guy sitting on a bench, like across the way from us. Instead of sitting at any of the 12 other benches, this guy just walks all the way around, sits right next to him and says, hey, I'm Tristan. What's your name? And I'm like, that is so opposite of me, but it's fun to see like cool. His unique gifting and then how that's applying and showing itself and like what he's doing right now. So yeah, that's pretty rewarding to see of like, cool. You've always had that. And then the ability to memorize Bible verses early days and applying that to memorizing data points or people's names and it's still a very relational business. And so you see how he's wired to be successful in this. And so that part's been fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I obviously don't remember that being 2 years old, but I think one of the most rewarding things for me, and this is really funny, but my mother finally understanding the whole point of Carve AutoLab.
Yeah.
And so just finally getting her, and she's, if you know her, I love my mother, but man, she's stubborn and so am I. And so the two of us battling it out, trying to like, hey, this actually means something, like this actually works. You need to understand that this car can sell for this, and you're not spending $80,000 to buy a car. You're losing $12,000 in a year on this car. And so really, I think the most rewarding thing for me was when she realized that I'm not spending money anymore. I'm losing this money in this year and this amount. And so just seeing that, using the knowledge of Carve, that she is seeing the car market differently now. And I just, that her opening my eyes to that, I'm like, wow, like that's what I want to go chase now. Like sure, money's awesome, but if I can get everybody in this room to understand the car market like I do and save you guys all thousands of dollars over the next, 20 years of you guys buying cars, that's really what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely one of the most rewarding things that I've seen.
That's great.
Yeah.
Are any of your relationships, network showing up in a way with this business? I mean, sometimes, this is very different than your day job.
Sure.
And there's some analytical pieces that seem similar, but a lot of times if a dad and son are starting something together, it's adjacent to an industry that, the dad used to work in or something. And so a ton of those networks roll over. This seems kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
Is any of that showing up?
Well, I mean, I think, a large degree of those 100 that we were piloting are probably half of them are within my network because I'm the target market, not his generation.
Right. You're the customer.
I'm the customer. Yeah. And so definitely on that side. But then one thing I found, and it's almost opposite of what you're trained in the bubble of Bentonville, if I may, we treat data in Bentonville largely with guards up. I got to be careful who I'm talking with at lunch because I don't know if my competitor or my merchants across the way, you know, Walmart or my competitor. And in the startup community, you know, and you know this from your example, your experience at Bearded Goat, like largely it's guard down because everybody's just trying to survive it.
Right.
And so like I was always amazed through the Gen Z journey of like how many competitors, if you will, wanted to help me. And so I've been really pushing that of like, okay, Tristan, maybe adjacent categories or whatever, or any of my creatives, because neither one of us are super creative, but I've been blessed to work with a bunch of cool creatives in my experience, and man, how willing they are to give guidance or counsel or advice. And so I think two of the CEOs that he met with early days, probably in July or August, were creatives that have their own design agency, and just like they're cheering him on, encouraging him, and also on the email list and giving him feedback all the time. So yeah, it's showing up.
That's cool.
Yeah,
For sure.
Is Owen? Have you talked to Owen about this?
my
He's a
gosh.
big car guy.
Owen's killer for it.
He got rid of his G recently.
He did, yeah. And we were trying to get him to get a new station wagon, and he came in second. He didn't get it bought. He came in second.
He will be a customer at some point. It's only a matter of time.
No, he's great. But like he was so excited. I was watching the auction while he was bidding, and Tristan was texting both of us, and it was fun. He was at work.
He would have gone that one more number. He had it. That guy wasn't going any higher.
You know what's been also fun is like via guidance is Tristan helped me, and we actually helped Owen like establish a number, because like you get into the excitement of an auction.
Oh yeah.
And it's like drinking way too much and being at the gambling table. Like you got to set limits, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And man, if you have that limit of like, hey, don't go over this, it's really healthy and comforting. It's also crazy how close his number gets to being like, man, it's sold. Like we've come in second quite a few
4
auctions.
times.
Yeah, 4 times.
Yeah, before the new one you bought, we were, how many did we bid on? Probably 5 or 6 different cars with different price ranges, completely different models of cars. And 3 out of the 4 times, I think we were in second and one more number away. But I was like, hey, this is our cutoff number. Like,
we're done.
We're done.
Yeah.
And when those guys bought it, I'm like, man, do I want to take that next step one more time? But just making sure, stick to your guns, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. If you think of the normal car purchasing cycle in areas like ours is, I'll just pick on the Yukon suburban example of just buy a brand new one, drive it until it's got 60,000 miles, 80,000 miles. And what you don't understand is like one of his core concepts is the first 100 feet. I know you guys have seen the email and seen some of that, but it's that the steepest depreciation curve largely is that first 100 feet. You know, like that's when you're going to take the big bite, just as soon as that thing rolls off the lot and literally becomes a used car. But understanding those depreciation cliffs, and then understanding that in the marketplace, if you just play the game like everybody else, like you are not just buying a $90,000 or $100,000 Yukon, you're throwing away $60,000 if you don't get out at the right time. And then the opportunity to flip that on the head, because there's some really nice Taycans. I think, Steve, you talked about a friend that bought a Taycan Porsche electric vehicle, really nice vehicle, but man, priced sky high. And that depreciation cliff for them was not 10%. It was like 40%.
Yeah.
Like
I think
early.
2025 Taycans, if you've got it all kitted out, a Turbo S, you're paying like $240,000 for it. And then I can find you probably 20 with less than 5,000 miles at $160,000.
Wow.
I mean, and it's barely been driven. It still smells new.
Yeah.
I mean, still under warranty, still under everything. And you're saving almost $100,000.
Wow.
Just buying
for a brand new car.
For basically a brand new car.
And then that depreciation cliff is like, if you do the 11-month deal and drive it for, a year to 18 months, you can probably get out of that for less than $500 a month, And so like just finding those times and the data is really just kind of screaming at that.
That's crazy.
That's
so,
fun.
so guys, where are we going?
Yeah,
Where
are we going, Tristan?
Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be, Tristan, let's call it 2 years from now, where's the business going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the hopes of Carve AutoLab in the future, really just I think one of the big things is just continuing to prove that the outcome, right? So that outcome of the car that he had bought, like just proving that loss is going to be a lot less consistently in front of a lot of people to earn the trust that does not naturally come in the car market. There's zero trust in the car market. And so I think in hopefully in 2 or 3 years, really just getting it as close to automated as I can. And by automated, I mean that the scraping and all of the hard effort that I'm putting into finding all these data points is as close to automated as possible. And then that ease and convenience, like Carvana is selling, we have the opportunity to sell that convenience to other people as well.
Can I build on that one real quick? Like one data point that I had is we built that, kind of hand built it New Year's Eve. It's how great your social life is. I don't know what that says about your social life, but it took you about 6 hours with both of us working on it. So let's call it 12 man hours to crank out a ledger. And now with the help of some really smart people coming alongside you and automating a lot of it, I think you can get that down to 45 minutes.
Yeah, I could probably get a ledger.
So what that says to Mr. Steve Graves is it's becoming scalable. Where a $750 ledger that looks like magazine grade, I think you've seen a few of them, it's high quality, you're proud to have it, cranking out 2 to 3 of those a day is well within reason.
Sure.
And what we've kind of built is a run rate goal of like, man, if we're somewhere in this middle, man, we're really happy. Above it, we're ecstatic. Below it, man, we got to start questioning ourselves. So it's really about, jumping the valley to, okay, how many strangers are going to trust a young, professional looking, articulate guy, but he is young, and send him $750 knowing that they're going to save thousands. And I said, so can we get 2 people to do that a week this next few months? And then, or 2 people a week would be great, and then what does that scale look like? But that is probably the easiest interaction, fairly low cost of entry for him, but then it's highly scalable for him too. So I think that's one that I'm kind of locking in on. Is like, Tristan, I can't wait for you to go live and some stranger out there in the ethos orders one and then sends you back a note, said, man, you just saved me $4,000 or $10,000, because he's already done it for the 100. He's done it for probably 8 or 9 people in the 100 of like literally $750, and I get $4,000 to $10,000 worth of value back out of it. So I think that's the part that I'm locking in on.
Yeah. Can
he hit scale? The acquisition, he's also learned a lot from the acquisition. There's some things not to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of them is an example is the client has got to be ready to pull the trigger when I send you a ledger. Oh yeah. Like if you're using an acquisition strategy, Steve, you're looking for your Lamborghini and you want a ledger and you request a ledger and I send it to you and you wait for 2 weeks. I mean, half of those Lamborghinis are going to be gone and I'm going to be building you another ledger again. And so if I get
both lose.
Yeah. So we're kind of losing. It's just repeating that process. Whereas like if I give you that ledger and you within 24 hours have narrowed it down to your top 3, man, as soon as I wake up that next morning, I'm hitting those dealerships, hitting those guys. And hey, what can you do for me here? Can you get me $2,000 more, $3,000 off? Cause these are already the top 20. There's not a whole lot of room for negotiation with these ones. Yeah. And so, really just getting them as close to I can as ready and then making sure that you're ready. So if you're not ready to go, then I'm sitting with these dealers like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't move forward anymore. I'm waiting on this guy. I'm waiting to hear back. And, loses a little bit of credibility in that, which is a little frustrating, but definitely learning that, hey, if you're ready to go, we need to be ready to go.
So graduate in May.
And
this is this is the plan.
This is the plan.
Okay, we're gonna do this for a while.
Yeah.
See how it goes, and then scale from there.
Yeah.
What does your involvement stay? I mean, you probably don't even know this yet because you're pre-launch, but like, a lot of the conversations we'll have is, the dads over there being like, "Hey, I'll give you 18 months," and then you got it, dude.
Yeah.
It seems like you're probably further behind on that cycle.
Yeah,
and you're
for
like,
sure.
we're gonna stay neck and neck as long as it takes.
Yeah. I think there is nothing of his products, if you will, the 4 offerings, from the free offering to the ledger to acquisition to exit, that involves me in any way. Like it's been more shaping and forming what those look like. And so now they're to the point where he's just running them. So I think there'll be other opportunities and business questions coming my way. But like, I think he's built to go run it. Cause like he's got a pretty full plate with class and everything else right now. And he keeps saying, man, I can't wait until I'm able to be more focused on it. And that's why we kind of pushed to wait for launch to be April. Yeah. So he's going to have basically a month that he's doing both, knowing that it's not going to just happen automatically. But if we woke up tomorrow, if we launched on social media tomorrow and orders started coming in, he could crank out quite a few. And I think that's a great problem to have of like, sorry, we got to limit this to only 4 a week or 5 a week.
Sorry, I got to go to class tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
If you were to open the well of just advice, I mean, I know you a little bit, Doug, before this conversation. So I know that you have a deep side of your soul and just like how you view life and stuff. If you were to open that up and just talk about working with your son and why it's a cool opportunity and how you would encourage, if another dad and son were like sitting here kind of like you guys were back last summer, kind of like, should we do a business? Should we not? Like, how would you speak into that, that dad son family dynamic? And how
I'll
would
take
you
a stab
encourage
at that. I think you've got to have an honest assessment of what your relationship's like. Right. Like I coached him when he was little. I had the opportunity to be a volunteer assistant in high school and coach him his junior and senior year and understand that, the coaching hat comes on, then it comes back off, be his cell group leader through church. And so you just got to have an honest assessment. And I remember specifically for like cell group, every year in August, I'd say, hey, buddy, I don't have to be your cell group leader. Like there's a bunch of great guys. Is like, no, I want you to be your cell group. And so you got to have an honest assessment of how do you guys interact. And I that's where I would start as a foundation. And we enjoy hanging out with each other. We frustrate each other. We're both human. But largely, we can balance each other out pretty well, even though everybody thinks we're identical in a lot of ways. He is way more precise and I'm more risk. Hey, just go try it and let's see if it screws up. If it screws up, we'll fix it. And he's like, man, I want it to be perfect. And so just balancing all of that, you've got to be able to understand exactly how do you relate, because I think it would be a mistake to walk into it and saying, hey, this is how I'm going to build my relationship with my son. Yeah. I would want to make sure that you guys are on some kind of foundation that relationship's already healthy, because what you're really going to be doing is putting a lot more tension into the relationship rather than creating a way to bring you guys together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Tristan, what would you say?
I mean, I think as the kid side, he really does actually know what he's talking about. He's not just.
Are you sure?
He's not just talking to talk just to
record
just
that.
to be whatever.
Let me say that one more time.
You got it. That's your one time. But and specifically in the car space, like, I mean, I know a whole lot more about cars than he does.
Absolutely.
But he knows a whole lot more about business than I do. And so really just finding the balance of where our strengths are, and like you said, building that relationship. We've had a fantastic relationship my entire life. And so that really came easy when we were like, oh, let's just go build this business together. I mean, it's just like going to feed the horses outside or go play catch or whatever. It's the same. It just felt like the same kind of thing. Yeah. And so really on the son side of things, just knowing that, again, he knows what he's talking about, and I can trust him to be behind me and have my back and everything. But then also that I have to have his back as well. Like, it's his money, it's his investment, it's his thing. Like, I got to go prove it, not just to to the world, to the market, but I gotta go prove it to this guy that I'm worth that investment as well. And so, yeah, I think it's been awesome. It's been a blast, and I definitely wouldn't change it for the world.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Need to get back together in 2 years.
Yeah, let's see it.
See where
Let's
see
do
where
it.
we are.
it's
Right.
at.
I
See
look
where we
forward to
are.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, Steve, to that point, like even if we go back, if we come back in 2 years, he's already kind of validated it for me through articulating. You talk about it, the learning curve, like compared to like
Comparatively
to like
yeah.
class or
I mean,
yeah.
he was talking about the precision, and one of the things I've always, I mean, you can say, he's like, when I decided not go to medical school this last fall semester, he's like, hey, maybe you should do some business classes. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do, whatever, macroeconomics, micro, and I'll do, business stats. And he leans over and he goes, dude, do you really want to go do business stats? And I'm like, dude, have you ever heard of biochemistry or organic chemistry?
Yeah,
That's a lot of math.
And
Business
I'm like,
statistics is going to be an absolute breeze. But that learning curve from going to the precise, like if you're not precise in a chemistry lab, you're going to blow up the lab. So you really don't want to do that. And so really just narrowing down all of that and that learning curve of, hey, that the risk can be taken without all of the precautions, in a sense. And so I think that's been
And I think your point of like when you articulated me of like, man, I've learned more.
Yeah, and definitely learned more in the last 6 months than I have the 4 years at school.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was sitting here thinking about that very thing.
question.
I mean, there's a real tension in today's world,
Mm-hmm.
in current modern world of learning and education between, formal education
Right.
and informal education that has formal pieces around it. It's not like you're not learning;
Mm-hmm.
you're still learning like crazy. But
Exactly.
like to think that you can't hit Claude or Chat GPT
For sure.
and learn a whole bunch quickly.
Exactly.
Now, that doesn't mean some people don't need to sit in a class
Agreed.
for the rhythm and the discipline of it. That's point one. Point two is, I'm always reminded how many times I've heard and or experienced, idea one is the business idea that you stand up and go to market with. But then somewhere along the way, the market changes your idea one to 1A or 1B or even 2. And it's not like it's not like you get out of the auto business, but what you started with might not be what you have 2
Sure.
years from now. And the market could very well say, hey, here's a better idea that's way more profitable and
For
way
sure.
more hot.
Yeah.
But you won't do that in a classroom. My point is that's not going to happen, in a business theory. It's
Sure.
going to happen when you're taking risk, trying to move through launch to prove to scale.
Yeah.
That's so you guys have a wonderful 2-year prove stage.
For sure.
For sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, thanks for doing this. Y'all's story is kind of the vision for this little mini series of conversations is basically for y'all's story to be told, where there's more dads that see like, hey, I'm going to go work with my son, and this is a chance to amplify our legacy, work together, let him
For sure.
see me in a professional setting, pour into him, disciple him in the workplace,
Yes.
and not just outside in life.
Yeah.
And for more sons to see, hey, I can go work with my dad, and this is an honor, not a handout
For sure.
that I'm getting. So y'all's story kind of brings that to life.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad we got to hear it and share it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
yeah, of course. This is probably going to be released around the launch time. Where can people find Carve?
Yeah. So Carve AutoLab, hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so, be on Instagram, TikTok at Carve AutoLab. And then website as well, carveautolab.com. And you can sign up for the email through the website or through social media as well. Yeah, give us a follow. Just follow along. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.